are back. It is fight season, and we have a returning guest that I'm thrilled to have back. One of my favorite guests that we have here on fight season. It's Torrez Finney, who is no longer fighting on Dana White's Contender Series. He actually has a real UFC fight lined up. He's fighting Robert Valentin at the UFC Apex on April 5th. Torrez, thank you so much for joining me, man. How are you?
I'm great, man. Thank you for having me back on again. Once again, Jesse, you know, you're one of my favorite guys to always do the show with. So thank you for having me back on, brother. Been since I think the last time we talked was since the right before the third Contender Series fight. So yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, I think we actually spoke right after you got the contract, but we didn't know what was going to happen when you were going to get your first fight. So now
That's
we
true.
have we actually have a booking. God, how long has it been since you fought in Contender Series? It was a few months ago, right?
Yeah, October, so it's not that far off. You know,
Yeah.
like I took maybe a week or two off, and then jumped right back into training. So I've been training consistently since then, and been training. Heck, I was training when I got the call, like get ready for this upcoming fight. So
Yeah.
everything was perfectly working out.
Where are you training right now? Are you in Vegas?
No, I'm currently in Orlando. I'm training at Fusion XL
Okay,
currently right
got it.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, been training with a lot of those guys. Been blessed to be able to help out Rodolfo Vieira. You know, he has his fight coming out next week against Andre Petrosky, so I'm excited for that matchup for him. And then,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've been out here training already. You know, with a lot of guys. Phil Rowe. Fusion just had opportunity to have three guys actually on the card in Saudi Arabia last week with Terrence McKinney, Mike Davis, and Lucas Alexander. So definitely some fire going on in this gym. A lot of guys, a lot of talent here. So been having a great opportunity to be out here with these guys.
Yeah. No, that Mike Davis fight, that was a great fight. I know it didn't end up the way he wanted, but it was a great fight. To Terrence McKinney too. I mean, he just dominated that fight.
He did.
He
He
looked
looked
great.
good. Yeah, he looked good.
So you got your first fight lined up. It's Robert Valentin, and he is a guy that he finished runner up on Ultimate Fighter, so he sort of had like a little bit of a similar trajectory here. Kind of had a little bit of a tougher road to get to the UFC. Just sort of your thoughts on the matchup, and what you sort of expect, and yeah, just this being your first fight, how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, man. I'm really excited for the matchup, man. You know, I think a lot of people, obviously, seeing a guy like Robert Valentin going through the Ultimate Fighter, coming through. I mean, look, he's a tough guy. I mean, he ran shot. You know, he dominated, got both first round finishes on the show, and then obviously, came up short in the finale going against Loader. But the man showed a really good showing. You know, he had a really good performances on the Ultimate Fighter. So. And it shows he's very knowledgeable as well. You know, if you was able to watch the show, like he was help coaching other guys. So, he's a guy that's obviously out there talented. You know, you don't make it this far without being talented. So, I definitely get a lot of respect from him. And yeah, I'm excited to fight him. You know, I think about it with this. I was supposed to be on the Ultimate Fighter. So
Right.
to see, my first fight is against somebody that was on the show, I just feel like it's a good little full circle.
We'll be right back to the video, fight fans, but first, big announcement, because UFC 312 is coming up this weekend in Sydney, Australia. We're going down under for some Sean Strickland versus Dricus Du Plessis, a rematch for the UFC middleweight title, and Inside Fighting has partnered up with our friends over at DraftKings to get you guys closer to all the action. And right now, new DraftKings customers who go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app can bet $5 and receive $200 of bonus bets instantly if you sign up using our promo code Inside Fighting. Stay in on the action and use your $200 in bonus bets of DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. Combine multiple bets together from the same game and get in on the action that way. If you love the thrill of live betting, DraftKings has you covered with live markets like Fight to Go the Distance, making watching fights that much more exciting. And if sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry about it. Just go play DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports. Get in on all the action there. Again, in honor of UFC 312, new DraftKings customers who go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app can bet $5 and receive $200 of bonus bets instantly using our promo code Inside Fighting. Yeah, that's the way this life works, right? Everything's sort of it's all meant to be.
That's right.
Now that it's no longer Dana White's Contender Series, now that it's an actual fight, does it feel any different at all to you? Does it feel like a different training camp? Like, are the expectations higher, the pressure higher, or do you not look at it in those terms?
I don't necessarily look at it in those terms because each fight individually is you have to grow. You know, you're not going to fight anybody worse than your last. You know, you have to continue to grow, and I think for myself, that's one thing I have continued to do. And you know, at this point for me, and I said this at the end of my last fight, I was like, look, when you fought this many times in the UFC Apex, I mean, let's be honest, a lot of fighters dream of just going in there and fighting, let alone
Yeah.
fighting on the Contender series, let alone fighting in the UFC. And I've been blessed to already have 3 experiences going in there, going through the walk. Granted, the walk is different because you don't have walkouts. You know, the crowd's a little, not as many people in the crowd compared to like maybe
Yeah.
a full Apex card. But I just feel like there's a lot of similarities, you know, because I don't, you know, play too much into listening to the noise on the outside. Folks staying focused on what's going on. So yes, I'm gonna treat this fight just like any other, and dissect them the same way I do everybody else, and you know, stay completely focused. And yeah, I definitely think the let me see, I would say like the pressure behind it is probably a little bit different, but besides that, you know, a fight's a fight. You still got to go out there and handle business, and at the end of the day, that's one thing I will be able to go in there and do.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that, you know, even if the nerves probably like being nervous, it might be the wrong question because you probably wouldn't feel it until fight night anyway. It might not be, you might not know until you're there in the apex walking up, but you seem pretty cool under pressure to me. I don't know. I think you'll be all right. Um, you know, curious because look, it's no secret you became like a fan favorite online. It's because you're built like a Mack truck. You're absolutely jacked. Just curious, you know, for the people out there, what's your like daily diet like? Like, are you a carb counter? Are you a calorie counter? That sort of thing. Like, what's your daily intake like?
This is funny. I wish my strength and conditioning coaches be here with me right now because they would love to hear. But
Yeah,
they already know, like, I don't count carbs. Like, I tell people, man, some of this stuff is a little bit like genetics. I mean, I just saw online when Kayla Harrison said she won the Olympics, you know, drinking Diet Coke and
yeah,
eating whatever she was eating, you know, hot dogs and hamburgers and
yeah.
pizza. So, like, and I feel like I'm a little similar in that case. Now, when I'm cutting weight, because since I am a much bigger guy, obviously I eat a lot healthier. But you know, outside of camp, I mean, I just eat whatever. You know, I'm a former football player, so when you're a
Right,
former football player, you know, there was no such thing as counting anything. You just eat.
right,
So, but now there's a new rule for myself. You know, a little bit similar to wrestling. You know, you don't eat till you're full, but eat till you're satisfied. And meaning
right.
just eat enough to where it just settles your stomach and you're good to go. Because my coach get on me, he said, "Man, if you stop eating like a football player, you probably could lose a little bit more weight." And I'm like, "You're right," you know, because
Yeah.
it's hard for me to go and eat one meal. Like I go and get two entrees or something because I'll be hungry, man. You know, you got to make these muscles go. So, but overall, when I'm cutting weight, you know, I'm definitely a lot more strict on my diet and things. And yeah, I can definitely get my weight down. But yeah, I'm not much of a carb counter. I will say I eat a lot of protein,
Yeah.
lots and lots of protein.
What's you know, I do have another question for you, but like it reminds me of The Rock. He eats apparently like something like 8 meals a day or something crazy
Yeah, he
like that.
does. Yeah, he does. It's
His
crazy.
his his whole regimen is insane. What is your favorite cheat meal? Like, do you have a cheat meal, or do you just sort of eat a cheat meal when you feel like having a cheat meal?
Man, I don't know if this is counted as a cheat meal if I about eat it almost every day, but my cheat meal personally is fried chicken. I know this
Okay.
might be cliche, but yes, fried chicken like with collard greens, macaroni and cheese, cornbread, green beans, fried pork chop, fried catfish, yams. I mean,
Right.
mashed potato with gravy. I mean, dude, sweet tea. Like I'm on all that. I'm a soul food fanatic.
Oh,
So like soul food, I'm from the South, baby.
you're from Georgia, right? Like, are
I'm from
you?
Georgia.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes sense. What's so settle it? Popeyes or KFC? Which one? Which one's
Oh
better?
no. Well, so this is the thing.
Yeah.
Right now, Popeyes, but back in the day, when growing up, it used to be KFC. But before
Yeah.
KFC, it was Church's Chicken.
Oh,
Anybody
okay.
that really know it was Church's Chicken. But Church's fell off. KFC is falling off a little bit. It looks like it's gaining a little bit more steam. But Popeyes, as of right now, Popeyes to go to.
Yeah, no, I'm all Popeyes all day. I love Popeyes.
Yeah.
I love that because you know most fighters, I think that they would not want to admit that they eat like that. But I feel like you like you said, it's genetic, but it's also hard work, right? It's like you can work it off better than most, and a lot of guys don't put in the hard work. I imagine that's part of it too, right?
Yes, I train 2 to 3 times every single day. I
Yeah.
just got done with a training session not too long ago. Like I train so much, and like that's a part of being blessed to just commit
Yeah.
to fighting full time. That's all I've been able to do is commit to fighting full time since my second amateur fight. So, and that's why I feel like the progress of why I've been able to accomplish things much quicker than most guys that have been in the game a little bit longer than me. I've been training full time for going on 4 years. And since
Yeah.
I've been training full time, that's all I've been focused on. I treat this like it's my job. So, yeah, sometimes a cheat meal here and there, but when you've been consistently training, there's no such thing as like, oh man, I got to get in shape to get prepared for the fight. A lot of people, when they go have a fight coming up, they spend the majority of them few weeks getting in shape for the fight rather than preparing just for the fight.
Yeah.
And yes, obviously you got to get in fight shape because just regular shape ain't different than fight shape, but you don't spend as much time on that compared to your actual opponent, and you can use different things preparing for your opponent while also doing cardio methods. So
Yeah.
I just feel like when you're just training all the time, full time, it just makes everything much easier as a complete fighter.
Makes sense to me. You mentioned you played football. Curious, we have a pretty big game coming up this
Yes,
Sunday
we do.
with the Super Bowl. Just curious, are you rooting for either of these teams? Because America, it's sort of America seems to hate these two teams.
They do.
Not everybody's very happy with this matchup. Eagles Chiefs. People hate the Chiefs because they win every year because of Taylor Swift. People hate the Eagles because of Philadelphia and because of the tush push. Where do you stand on this matchup?
Well, I mean, for me personally, like I'm a Steelers fan, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I will say I'm going with the Chiefs. Might as well let's watch history. I feel like watching Patrick Mahomes is similar to watching like it's crazy enough we never thought we'd see somebody like Tom Brady, win 7 Super Bowls. Then he win
Yeah.
seven.
Yeah.
We're like, well, that'll never happen again. And then literally like the year after he retired, oh, here comes another guy. Like
Yeah.
he's right in the mix. I would like to see it, because it just creates the debate and the argument. Currently in basketball, what do we have every time? Who's better, Michael Jordan, LeBron? And right now, with Mahomes winning this ring, it'll close the gap, and then we'll have that argument all the time now. Who's better,
Yeah.
Mahomes or Brady? So I'm rooting for them. I want to see the three-peat. It's never happened in NFL history. Heck, look, there was never a three-peat in the Contender Series. I take my three-peat from MJ, three-peat.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chiefs. Get your three-peat, baby.
Love it. Over under Taylor Swift is shown on the broadcast 25.5 times. Over under.
Ooh, 25 is a high number. That's a high number. That's very dependent on how much Travis Kelce. And I'm gonna tell you something. I don't know if he retires after this game, but
Yeah.
I feel like this is gonna be one of those like lasting times we see him on a big stage, maybe like this. I don't know. Could
Yeah.
be completely wrong. But man, that's a high number. 25. Ugh.
Yeah.
But it's not far fetched. That's the problem.
Yeah, I know.
It's not far fetched.
I sort of set my own line there, but so it seems like you're taking the under.
I'm gonna take the under because I can see them doing it around like 16, 17 ish.
All right.
So
Fair
I'm gonna take the under, but that's still a lot in itself.
Yeah. Is football? Do you think football is like the best in terms of like non-combat sports? Would it be one of the best sports for like a base for MMA training, like for transitioning to MMA, or do you think that there are other sports that might be better for
Personally, I do. I think with football, it teaches that physicality, and I feel like I bring that when I fight. Like I'm just physical. Having that physicalness when you be able to go into the cage when a lot of people aren't accustomed to, taking that constant brute hits and force at all times. Compared to a basketball player or complete, I would say what's the beauty of baseball is like hip rotation. They think about hip rotation, the same thing similar to throwing punches. So, you could utilize some of that obviously into fighting, but again, it's the contact. It's like, okay, you might can throw a punch, but can't take one. Okay, you might can, shoot and takedowns and being able to hit the mat. I think football has a lot of different correlations along with fighting. But obviously, I feel wrestling is the top tier, in school to the cage type of thing to do. But yes, besides that, a ball in hand sport would be football.
I've heard from somebody that soccer is the best sport to start with for any other sport, just because they teach footwork in a way that footwork is like everything in sports, right? And
that's very true.
Kobe was a soccer player. That's why his footwork was so good. So that's what they teach. Like a lot of people, if you for the kids out there, if there are kids watching, play soccer and then switch to the other sports because
that's very true. Actually, that's very true.
So, a guy that you've trained with a little bit, Sean Strickland is fighting this weekend. He's fighting for the middleweight title. Just curious what you think about this matchup. It's in your division. It's not your guy Hamzat. I know you're a big Hamzat guy, but it is a rematch of a previous title fight that was very closely lost on a split decision by Strickland. Just curious what you think about the matchup and who you see coming out on top.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. Like it's a hard fight again. Obviously, the last one was a split decision. I think with Dricus, think about it like this. Now, Dricus did take a beating, but like Sean Strickland inflicted a lot of damage, amongst him, in which he felt like he won. Now, that cut from the headbutt, that probably swayed some of the judges. Also, a few of those takedowns. But when you think, all right, and I love Strickland, but when you think as in the eyes of Dricus, let's just say I'm on Dricus' side. The worst thing that came out of that fight, that probably wasn't even Dricus' best performance, and you won by split decision, and you had a few little bruises all over your face. I think he takes a few more chances in this, and I think because of that, I think that might overwhelm Strickland just a little bit. You very rarely see anybody take chances against Strickland, mainly because one, cardio, two is a 5-round fight. But I think Dricus is going to take a few bit more chances in this fight, and I think that might help him give him the nod a little bit more. If not unanimously, he might finish Strickland. But personally, I love Strickland, and I'm rooting for him. If you ask me who I want to win, I would love Strickland to win, no question. But in the eyes of just breaking down the fight, I definitely think Dricus might take more of a chance against him now compared to after what he saw last fight. Because when you just got to look at it on the other end, how is Strickland going to beat him? 25 minutes. Beating him up 25 minutes. He's not subbing Dricus unless he lands the knockout shot, which in all honesty, I don't see that happening. So there's just only one avenue, and that just over the course of 25 minutes where Dricus, he takes a few more chances. He might wing a little bit, few more punches, go for takedowns, go for subs. I just think he may take more chances in this fight compared to obviously the last one.
Yeah, it just seems like Dricus does more. He implements more MMA than Sean does. Sean likes to control fights on his terms, right? He likes to stand and almost like spar a little bit. It's a little bit of like a chess match, and he's great at it, man. But it's a guy like Dricus, it's a tough matchup. I love the matchup. I thought that the first fight was great. Just in terms of a guy who's trained with Strickland before, do you find his methods to be motivating? Because he's known for being like loud and he's known for obviously being unfiltered, speaking his mind in a very harsh way sometimes. Do you find that to be motivating to be around when you're training with him?
Yes, because you got to remember every fighter's different, and everybody get motivated differently. Some people don't like the hoorah type of guy, and you like the certain guys that quiet and just I'm gonna train and I ain't gonna say much. And then you got a guy obviously like Strickland who's loud, tell you straight to your face what you are when he's calling you different names. But then again, are you just gonna sit there and take those names, or are you gonna like overcome it and push through? And I think sometimes some guys take that as a challenge, and it just depends on who you are. And I definitely think he's a good teammate. Now, yes, he definitely has some methods that, probably not everybody agree with, but then that's any team, there's no team in the world. I agree with every single method that coach does. That's in anything, so, probably a few methods that I might not agree with, but overall, can you disagree with him on how he does things? I mean, he just won a world title. So for him, that works for him. Not saying that works for everybody else. I'm willing to bet you GSP didn't have nobody in there cussing him out, yelling at him, saying he sucks, Right. But then again, that might not work for him. So I definitely think as a teammate, it just depends on who you are. That's all I would say. That just depends on who you are that can take that compared to anybody else.
I don't know if you can answer this question. Is that staph on his arm? Because the internet's going crazy about what's on his arm. What do you think? Can you answer that?
I can't answer that question because I was looking at it too, man. And I'm sitting there thinking, what is that? And it's like, I don't know. It doesn't look like it's getting like a little bit like bigger as time is going I don't know, man. But it's like, hopefully, but he's known to be a cardio freak. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. And he, obviously we've always heard people say that they've lied about it. Like with Marab, his last fight, he lied about his. And granted, obviously it didn't affect him. But, Islam had staph. What fight was it? He had staph against Dustin, I believe. And, so it happens.
BSD, Benoit Saint-Denis had it against Poirier as well on his forehead, I believe. Yeah, I mean, hey, I would imagine at the UFC, if it was a problem, that they would call it off. But yeah, it's obviously it's making the rounds on the internet. So I had to ask you. What do you think about? I'm sorry, I know I've taken up a lot of your time. We're only a few more questions here. What do you think about Dricus's fight style? There's been a lot been made on the internet about the way that he fights. Sean made a funny comment in the press conference that he fights like a guy on a short bus. Make of that what you will. What do you think about his fighting style? Do you think there's like a method to the madness here?
You just answered the question. Yes, there is a method to the madness. I compare it a little bit to my teammate back at home, Trevor Peak. Fight. You're like, how in the world? But obviously with Dricus, having the other accolades and skill sets, but like similar, even with Trevor, it's like you have to be in there to know what they feel like, and it's you get in there, you're like, well, there's no way that should work. And you're watching it from a viewer standpoint. That's not going to work on me. That's impossible. That's not going to beat anybody really good. And then when you put them in there with that person and they're like falling down to their traps. I mean, we literally saw Dricus fall down face first and still take down Israel Adesanya, who's had some of the greatest takedown defense in the history of the division. Like, how are you doing this? We seen him take down Robert Whittaker with just foolishness. The fight against Bronson and the fight against Brad Tavares and Trevin Giles, like I've just many fights where you just sit there and looking like, how's this working? But there is a method to the madness, and people got to remember, certain fighters are really good in chaos, and Dricus is one of those guys that I really think there's really good in chaos. When things are hectic, he gets calmer while everybody else gets sporadic, and I think guys that are able to just make things work in the madness, that's where they grow, and I think that's what Dricus has made himself be really good at. When things are hectic, fists are flying, you're falling all over the place, he know how to make things work, man. And don't like, you can't be crazy. This ain't just something that just happens only in a fight. Obviously, he trains this way. So when you see this type of stuff in the fight, you're like, man, what type of mess is this? He probably does this also in training, and it works out really well for him. So it is a method to the madness. It's just like any other style. You might look at a style, you're like, man, how does that work? But it works for him because obviously he makes it really effective.
Absolutely. He's just got incredible physicality to him too. I think that makes it so much more difficult. He's built like a rugby player. He has an incredible physique. So I have to ask you, who's got the better physique, Dricus Du Plessis or Torrez Finney?
I think I got him beat on that one now. I got him beat on that one, man. He ain't got no chops like these, baby.
That's right. That's right.
But no, man, a lot of respect to him.
Yeah, maybe we'll find out one day. Maybe we'll find out one day. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate your time. Just really quick, how many fights do you want to have this year? Obviously, you're fighting in April. How many fights do you want to have this year? What are your goals for 2025 and beyond?
Yeah, my goals this year is to have at least 3 fights on the year. I like to be active. This is that part of my career. I'm treating this, like I've already said it on here before. Like if I didn't fight in MMA, my goal would always to fight. Play in the NFL, and like I want to have this something similar, like a season. Create my own little season, 3 fights a year between this time span, and that's my goal. And every year, get 3 fights, go 3-0 on the year. Everything else will fall in line, but we taking each fight one fight at a time. Obviously starting off with this fight in April, and yes, take this one fight at a time, handle business, and then we'll go on to the next. But yes, sir, the goal is to get 3 fights in.
Absolutely. Love it. I'll be rooting for you. Torrez Finney fighting Robert Valentin in his UFC debut at the UFC Apex on April 5th. Torrez, thank you so much. Best of luck, and we'll catch up again soon, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.